Hello, it's me again, Bobby, and I've decided that I wanted to share a little information about our books that I kind of assumed that everyone already knew, but I really doubt that people are aware of just what is in our books. First of all, of course, Alana wrote her book, um, Hung in the Middle, A Journey of Gender Discovery. Let me see if I can get it turned around right. I don't know how to do this very well. Okay. Hung in the Middle, A Journey of Gender Discovery. And of course, Alana's book tells her story about being born here in Kentucky in the early 60s at a time and a place where the word transgender just simply was not known. About hiding the fact that she felt different than her brothers, about because of the way she felt, she had no fear of dying because she always said that she thought she would die by the time she was 30, and that way she could take her secret to the grave with her. So she wasn't worried about dying, so she participated in some really risky behavior, including driving fast. She loves fast cars. So there are stories about some of the accidents that she's had. First accident was at 115 miles an hour and no broken bones ever in her body. God is with her. And a lot of people aren't aware that, well, most people know that by living here in Kentucky, she was raised on thoroughbred farms, but she also trained to be a jockey until she grew out of that. And there's just all sorts of information in the book about Alana's young life and the risky behavior that she did, I guess you'd say, simply because there was no fear of dying. So, and she had no idea that she was transgender. She just knew that she was different and that she couldn't let anybody know how she felt on the inside. So then as she got older, she, of course, was part of the music family. The Scholler family had a band. So that led from being a member of the family band to playing in bars and getting mixed up in drinking and drugs and so on and so forth. And there might even be a hooker or two in the story. Okay, I can't tell the whole story. But anyway, Alana's story has a lot of background information before she even learned, and I think it was like 2000, I know it's been since 2000 that she learned about transgender persons and that there wasn't anything wrong with her, that she was just transgender. And the story picks up from there about the things that she's learned and having at her age to, by then, to share with her family that she was transgender and going through changing her name to Alana Nicole, and then thought that was going to be the hardest thing that she would ever have to do in her life. But within a month or so of that, she had to come back and do something even more difficult. And I guess I better let you read the book to get some of the information on that. And also, she talks about our relationship and how there were things that I learned about our relationship that I wasn't aware of until we got together in 2006 when I saw Alana for the first time. But anyway, that's Alana's book. Now, about my story. My story is my side of our story. Put that in there. Okay. My husband looks better in lingerie than I do, damn it. And that's the title of my book because that's where I was initially. When I first, well, technically, when I first saw Alana, after having known the male presentation for 25 years, I didn't like her. I didn't want her around. I told her I could be her friend because I could be friends with practically anyone. However, she had a strike against her just by being there because she took Alan away from me. And Alan is the person that I'd had my relationship with. We had shared an intimate relationship in the mid-90s. So yes, our book does have a little bit of sexual information in there because that is a part of our life. It was a part of our lives. So, and it makes up our story. So that had to be in there too. But I knew absolutely nothing about transgender persons. So when Alana and I did get together, she's so frilly and girly. so much more than I'll ever be. She likes her little lingerie outfits and such. So we would put those on and have a good time together. And when my book is literally, this happened to me. Standing in front of the mirror one day with Alana, hands on her hip, and me standing there with my little fat legs and her looking as good as she did in lingerie. And my thought was, my husband looks better in lingerie than I do, damn it. And so that's why that's the title of my book. And of course, at that time, not knowing anything about transgender persons, not having any knowledge whatsoever that transgender is someone who is born or assigned one gender at birth but is truly the opposite gender. I initially thought that Alana was a male dressing up. So that was my understanding. I didn't know any better. And actually, to tell you the truth, I believe that I'm probably not alone. I believe there are probably lots of people out there who know nothing about the transgender community who wouldn't know any better. And because they have no understanding of transgender, they would probably have the same thoughts, that it was someone of one gender trying to dress up and act like the other gender. But the very first support group meeting that I went to with Alana, I heard someone ask the question, what do you tell someone that transgender is whenever they ask you? Said, it's just so difficult for me to explain. And this was a transgender person speaking. And someone else in the group said, I tell them the Coke bottle story. And she went on to continue. Whenever you see a Coke bottle, you recognize what it is because of the shape of the bottle. But if you open that Coke bottle and you take a big drink and there's orange juice inside, what do you really have? Do you have a Coke because of the shape it's in? Or do you have orange juice because of what's inside? And that was really one of the first inklings of me beginning to understand that on the inside, no matter what I see on the outside, even if she's dressed up in her lingerie, what's on the inside is what counts. And that was my first understanding of, on the inside, Alana is a woman. So then my understanding has grown. That was just the beginning, and gone from there. And of course, my understanding of all of that is in my book too. And because my book is about my transition, and I have had to transition, but my transition is from knowing not a gosh darn thing to at least knowing a little bit now. And I learn something new every day, every single day. So the first part of my book is about the relationship that I had with the male, who, by the way, never hinted in the slightest that there was anything feminine about that person. And since our relationship was the type of intimate relationship that it was, then masculine, all male, He-Man, that was my vision of this person. Boy, was I wrong. Because now that I know better, you can't go back. When you have an understanding of something and then you have a new understanding, there is only Alana, the woman. So the first part of my book is about that. I also include in the book some of my personal spiritual growth, because I think without that, I wouldn't have been open-minded enough to eventually accept Alana and be in this wonderful marriage that I'm in with this wonderful person that I'm married to. But anyway, I decided I wanted to share a little bit about our books. The second part of my book talks about the lessons I learned, the things that I knew absolutely nothing about. And I'll give you one example here. I had the wonderful privilege of spending a week at the Southern Comfort Conference for Transgender Persons in 2012 after Alana's book came out. One of the questions that so many people were asking everyone else was, do you get to live in film full time? So I just figured that was a safe question to ask anyone. Well, there was another girl from Kentucky at the conference who liked to hang around Alana, and Alana had gotten up to go to the restroom or whatever, and I wanted to feel comfortable with this person that I was sitting with and talk to him, so I just looked over and I said, "So, do you get to live in film full time?" And immediately she said, "Hell no, and I wouldn't want to." Well, that blew my brain away, because from what I had learned by being the really only transgender person I'd ever been around was being Alana, and knowing what Alana's transgender experience is, I thought that's was going to be everybody's transgender experience. But now that I have learned that that was so wrong, because everybody's experience is different, period, no matter who or what you are. And the same holds true for the transgender community. But when she said that, it just kind of blew my mind away. But anyway, now let's see, was there something else I was leading up to tell you about that? Anyway, I've learned a whole lot. So the second part of my book talks about lessons I've learned, and as I said, I learn something new every day. I continue learning from various different persons' experiences, and everybody brings new information, and I absolutely love all of my friends. But I have been considering maybe writing another book, and I'm considering this time doing something that I say to Alana quite often, because it aggravates me to death that she's so much more feminine than I am, and her body is so much more girly than mine is. Short and dumpy just doesn't look as good as tall and slim. So I think my next book's going to be called, "Yeah, you might be able to buy boobs as big as mine, but I'll never grow legs as long as yours." But anyway, now you know a little bit more about our books.